What's good, YouTube fish? I filmed to be a brand new video. It's week 12, thoughts and predictions. Getting right into it. Real quick before we get into the games, the new thing for the Thanksgiving games, it's a John Madden games now because of John Madden, what he did for the sport of football and what he did for the Thanksgiving Day games. I mean, he made them just fantastic to watch. I wasn't old enough to watch him, clearly. I wasn't even bored when he was doing it, but man, the John Madden games, all my clips are from Madden. He made the game, so just much respect to him. I just want to put that out there. You already know it was Thanksgiving weekend, Thanksgiving Thursday. So the Lions always play and they always lose. It's a Thanksgiving tradition. You know how it goes. Lions, they made it a good game this year, I'll be honest, man. They made it a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought the Bills would honestly blow them out crazy, but they made it a really close game and they almost had a chance to tie it and go to overtime, but 30 seconds for the Bills is way too much time. They end up getting an easy field goal to win. But I'll say, man, those gritty Lions, you know how I'm with them gritty Lions, man. They're gritty, bro. That's the best way to put it, bro. They're gritty. They are gritty as hell. The Bills, they just look like they got something wrong right now. It might be Allen's hurt elbow or something. I don't know. Something seems off with them right now. I think they'll be able to figure it out and still make a really deep playoff run, but until then, they're going to be in a rough spot because they barely beat the Lions, who are not good at all. That brings us to the next game, Cowboys versus Giants. You know how I feel about the Cowboys and the Giants. I hate them both. So, I hate the Cowboys more. I want to see them lose a lot more than I want to see the Giants lose. Cowboys end up winning. They won pretty easily. The score looked a lot closer than it really was, but the Giants, they went for it on a 4th and 2. Barkley fell. It was the pass was behind him, but he still got to catch it. He had 2 hands on the ball. You got to catch it. And after that play, once they didn't convert that 4th down, that was it. That pretty much ended the game. After that, Giants couldn't do anything. Cowboys were able to score another touchdown, put them up by 2 scores, and that was pretty much it. The one biggest note I'll say about that game was, as much as I hate the Cowboys, listen, bro, the tight ends all hopped in the little bin. They did the whack-a-mole celebration, and that shit was pretty tough. I kind of messed with this, so that was fun as hell. Still hate them, though. That leads to the final game of the Thursday of the Thanksgiving games, which was the Vikings-Patriots. I thought the Patriots were going to win this. I really did. I thought prime Kirk Cousins can't really do nothing, but hey, he was able to play well enough, and they ended up getting the dub. They won by a touchdown. I'll say, man, I know Mac Jones isn't great, but when he actually is able to pass the ball, when they're willing to have him pass the ball more than just 3 times a game, he doesn't look too bad. He had a couple throws where it was like, dang, he can be a good quarterback. The biggest problem is they don't have an offensive coordinator. They got a defensive guy and a special teams guy calling the plays, so that doesn't help. But, if they get an offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, because he's getting fired from Vegas this year, once they get him back, they'll be straight. And then Justin Jefferson, he's just so good at football, bro. He's a top 3 wide receiver, and he's 2 or 3 because Tyreek Hill's still number 1, but that's besides the point, bro. And that brings us to the next game, which is the Jets versus Bears. You know how I feel about the Bears, but the problem is Justin Fields did not play. So, they got absolutely whooped. It wasn't even a game. He wasn't even able to make it close and then lose like he always does. Yes, I'm a hater, bro. Get over it. But Mike White looks way better than Zach Wilson. He scored 31 on him. I know the Bears' defense is pretty shitty, but hey, he looked pretty good, and I think he might end up being the future for him. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how the rest of the year goes, but he looks pretty good, and the Jets might actually have a quarterback. And then that leads into the next game, which is the Commanders-Falcons. The Commanders won 19-13. You know I hate the Washington, bro. You know I hate them. They end up winning. I still don't think their streak's going to go for much longer. I think they're going to hit a bumpy road. Atlanta they're not that good of a team. That whole division is awful. They're all below 500 now. What the hell? That is crazy. Another thing is, bro, Washington, bro, they get the luckiest wins, bro. It be the nuttiest things, and they barely able to win. It be some stupid, it's crazy. And the next game is the Bengals-Titans, which was thought to be the best game of the week. It looked like the best one, for the 1 and 4 o'clocks. But, it pretty much lived up to what it was. The Bengals won 20-16. The Titans at home, I thought they were going to win. I thought they just find ways to win. They always do, but hey, the Bengals are looking really good, and Jamar Chase still isn't there. So, when he comes back, look out. Titans, though, the only thing I got to say for them is Derrick Henry had a crazy reception run, got to the end zone, fumbled it at, the 5-yard line and bounced into the end zone. They got the touchdown anyway, but, that was crazy. And then the next game, one of the worst games of the 1 o'clocks was the Panthers-Broncos. The Panthers pretty much killed them. Russell Wilson looks awful. He did get his 300th career touchdown, passing touchdown, so good for him. But he got it when they were down 23-3, so it didn't really do anything. They are still the worst offense in the red zone, so they're an awful team. And the Panthers are also awful, but Sam Darnold, man, he looks better than Baker Mayfield and P.J. Walker, which isn't hard to do, but he is, man. He looks better. Then to one of my favorite games of the 1 o'clocks, the Browns-Bucks, bro. The Browns ended up winning, which I love, because, I hate Tom Brady. Fuck Tom Brady. I love to see him lose. The Browns was down by 7. They drove down the field, scored a touchdown, got the extra point to tie it, went to overtime. I'm thinking, bro, this game may end up in a tie the way both teams are playing in overtime. And Amari Cooper, bro, gets a crazy release, nobody on him, sprints down the side, gets to like the 3-yard line. They end up pushing it for a touchdown for the win. I mean, love this shit. And the sexual assaulter comes back next week against his former team. They might fuck around and have like some women on the sideline to get him a little scared. Like he might catch another case or something. He might even go over there and try to grab him or something. You know how he get, bro? He a freak. Now, on a real note, I don't think he's going to do much, but he's going to be rusty as hell. Like, I mean, this man hasn't played football, and it's going to be basically a year and a half, basically 2 years almost. Like, there's no way he could be that good. I guarantee he's going to be rusty. And then the next game is the Dolphins-Texans. The Dolphins won 30-15. They were up 30-0, and then the Texans started scoring a little bit, and it kind of got a little close at the end, but then, the Texans do what they do best and throw a pick at the end to ice it out. I mean, they really didn't have a chance, but hey, if they scored a touchdown again, they would have had a 1-score game. There was like 4 minutes left or something, 2 or 3, 4 minutes left, and they could have made it a crazy game, but the Dolphins did get a pick, and then that was it. And then the final game for the 1 o'clocks was the Jags-Ravens, one of the craziest games of the weekend. The Jags scored a touchdown to go down by 1, and Doug Peterson, man, goes for 2. Gets it, bro. He gets the 2-point conversion to go up by 1. But what makes it even crazier, bro, the Ravens go down. They get it to around, like, I think it was like the 47, 48-yard line to make it. It was a 67-yard field goal attempt. Justin Tucker struts onto the field. You're thinking, bro, he can make this. He's that guy. He gets it, bro. It's a perfect, straight down the middle, bro. He's like 2 yards short. If they just got 2 or 3 more yards, he makes that. Like, it was so crazy. What a game. The next game is the start of the 4 o'clock games. The Raiders-Seahawks. The Raiders won. Was super surprised because they've been playing awful. And one thing I gotta say about that whole game, watching it visually was so depressing. Everything looked like blue wash, gray wash. It was like an old time film. They were in their dark blue uniform, so it was dark. And then the Raiders were in their white and silver, and it was like, my God, it was so depressing to watch. But the Raiders won, and it ended up being a crazy game, but it was just like depressing. I didn't even want to watch it. Josh Jacobs, man, he is a beast. That boy went absolutely crazy. He had over 300 yards total, and he is, wow, it was insane. He had like an 86-yard touchdown run to win the game. What a crazy. Had him on fantasy at like 48 points or something. He went nuts. And then the next game is the Chargers-Cardinals. The Chargers end up winning that, getting the 2-point conversion to take the lead and take the win. I mean, it was a ballsy call, and they said, hey, we're going for the win. And, hey, I salute them because that's a crazy play, a crazy decision. You lose that game, you might not even make the playoffs. And the Cardinals, hey, man, they're done this year. It's a wrap. Kyler Murray's just trying to play Call of Duty at this point. Sticking in that division, the Rams lost to the Chiefs, got absolutely obliterated. They are absolutely terrible this year. They put all their stock into last year. They got their Super Bowl, and that is it. They are done. They look absolutely awful. Nothing looks the same at all. It is a terrible watch. And the Chiefs, they look like the best team in the league. I mean, Mahomes looks absolutely fantastic. Kelsey's so good. Like, even their receivers without Hill are so good. So, like, I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. And then that brings us to the last game of the 4 o'clocks, the Niners versus Saints. It was a very bad watch. It was 13-0. Niners won, which is great for the Eagles because, hey, we try and get that Saints pick to be as bad as possible. So we love that. But the Niners, man, they're going to be a threat now. They're looking pretty good. They look like they could actually do some damage. They look like they can make a big playoff run, but personally, I do not think so. I still think that they can win a first-round playoff game, and that's about it. And that brings us to the final game of the Sunday, my Eagles versus the Packers. The offense looked absolutely fantastic. The run game looked spectacular. Pass game, iffy, but like we didn't have to pass, so it didn't matter. The defense, that was very scary to watch. I mean, the defense looked terrible. They looked absolutely awful. Rodgers was picking us apart, and then Love comes in, gets a couple good passes, he gets a touchdown. I mean, it was just like a blown coverage. I mean, it was awful. But there's nothing worse than watching Chris Collinsworth. I mean, it is almost unbearable to watch. Listening to him like announce, it's so bad. But they were able to catch that dub. I mean, they ended up getting 40 points, so they were pretty good on offense, clearly. I think that the Packers just bench Rodgers for the rest of the year. Jay just tell him basically, hey, you're hurt. There's no point in playing anymore. We'll just see what you do for next year. We'll look into Love, see what he can do for them, and see if he's going to be something that they could use. But as of right now, I mean, he looked all right. I mean, they were gassing him a little bit in the game. The announcers were going crazy for him. They were sucking his cock, bro. It was crazy. So it was hard to watch. The Eagles' special team looks absolutely awful. That was one of the worst parts of the entire game. I couldn't believe how bad they were. They almost sold the game low key, and it was really rough. The defense wasn't playing good either, but they make plays when they have to. They did have 2 turnovers on Rodgers. They had 2 picks. So like, I mean, they sometimes they're good enough. Sometimes like I don't know, but the offense looked great, and that's all that matters. And that brings us to the final game of the weekend, which was the Colts versus Steelers. Steelers ended up winning by a touchdown. Kenny Pickett did not look all that great, but he didn't look bad. He didn't throw any picks, but he didn't even get 200 yards passing. I mean, he didn't need it. They were able to win. And the Colts, they didn't look very good. I mean, Matt Ryan, he is washed at this point. But, I mean, what were you expecting? I mean, you had 2 dogs in this game, and both the quarterbacks, one was old and bad, and one was young and pretty bad. So, I mean, that's all you had to expect. So that's going to do it for Week 12 thoughts and predictions. Come back next week for Week 13. And if you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and comment if you like. Peace.